We'll start by simplifying monomials, or multiplying monomials together to simplify these expressions. This will get us started for the multiplication of polynomials, but in fact, multiplication of monomials is sometimes trickier because we tend to overthink it. The first two examples are numeric examples to get us started, and then we'll apply the same rules to the algebraic examples. In order to multiply three numbers together, we choose any two, write down the product, and multiply the product by the third number. There's nothing special about the -4 not being in brackets. We could just as easily write it in with brackets. It's just that the first number doesn't technically need to be in them. In this case, let's take the first two numbers, -4 and 2. Of course, we get -8. We take that product and multiply it by the third number, and -8 times 3 is -24. Every time we have an odd number of negative signs, we'll end up with a negative answer. For this, we could just as easily have taken another pair. We could have started with 2 and 3. 2 and 3 give us 6, and we'd multiply that product by -4. And of course, -4 times 6 is also -24. We'll do the same thing for this second question. I notice that I have an even number of negative signs, so my final answer will be positive. I'm still going to take two of these and multiply them together first. And it's often the first two. It's easiest to do, they're closest together. 3 times -1 is -3, and we'll multiply that product, the product of the first two values, by -5. -3 times -5 is +15. Now the same rules apply once we get into the algebraic examples. And there's nothing special about the 2 being written in the brackets with the x. And in fact, we can think of this in exactly the same way we looked at the numeric examples above. This is simply -4 times 2 times x. It's just that in this case, we can't multiply all of those values together. Let's take the only two that can be evaluated, -4 times 2. That gives us -8, and we'll multiply that by x. And our final answer is -8x. Similarly here, this is 3 times -4 times x squared. In both of these cases, we have an odd number of negative signs, so we expect our answer to be negative. We multiply the first two together, the only numerical values we can evaluate, to get -12, and we'll multiply that by x squared. In this case, when I say multiply by, we just have to leave it as -12 times x squared. Let's look at these last two. Again, this could be -2 times x squared times x. It's three values that we need to multiply together. In this case, we only have one numeric value, so we'll write that up front. But we can multiply x's together when the bases are the same like this. This is just using our properties of exponents. We know that x squared times x is x cubed. This last one is a little bit different because we have more than three values. We've got a 2 times an x times a y cubed, finally a -2 and one more x. Doesn't matter what order we multiply these in. We could rewrite it if we like to write the numbers next to each other and the corresponding bases, but we don't need to. We can simply say, okay, I'll take the 2 and the -2 to give -4. X times x, using properties of exponents, is x squared, and we have only one instance of the base y. Now, you don't need to write these intermediate steps. I'm just showing you these so that you understand what I'm thinking when I'm coming up with this final solution. That's the multiplication of monomials.